longevity world is obsessing over what is the latest and greatest new supplement. Is it a postbiotic like urolithin A? Is it resveratrol? Is it a mitochondrial uncoupler? Is it a hotly discovered new vitamin or mineral-like substance? Or is it a diet? Is it carnivore or plant-based vegan? Perhaps it's some form of athletic training like VO2 max training or super slow strength or some high-tech fitness gear. While each of those have a time and place, in this video, I'm going to break down 3 forgotten hacks to lower your biological age. First, if you followed the longevity space for any period of time, you'll remember about 5 years ago when the whole concept of fasting and intermittent fasting really began to gain steam. While those have their place, a lot of the longevity experts have changed their stance, flipped it completely, and pointed out a lot of the drawbacks and potential consequences of frequent and extreme fasting, which is the direction the trend has been going over the last couple of years. That's why people like Dr. Peter Attia, who was known for deadlifting 495 pounds in the middle of a 5-day fast, changed his stance, and he now rarely fasts for any duration of time. A lot of the research around fasting is mixed. Much of the research isn't the highest quality, but we can glean something useful by looking beyond the practice itself into a principle behind it. And that is the principle of feast and famine, or of pulsation. The problem with most of the applications of fasting today are that they don't match the way humans naturally operated, and thus the way we are hard-coded to thrive best. Our ancestors would never just voluntarily fast for 18 hours every single day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, because they believed it could confer some kind of metabolic benefit. That might be 3 days of scarce food, relying mostly on foraging foods like nuts and berries and seeds, followed by a kill in which they'd enjoy some nutrient-dense meats, live lavishly, and consume calories in abundance, and then followed by a 2-day cycle, then a 1-day cycle, then a 6-day cycle. So if you plan on implementing fasting into your routine, the best way to do it is to switch up your schedule. Instead of just intermittent fasting, the same exact window, 7 days a week, you can do a couple weeks of that, then you can switch to 4 days of intermittent fasting, then you can switch to 6 days, and that more closely mimics the way humans have always existed. And if you do plan on fasting, research suggests that the early window is the best. So you'd have your breakfast and lunch and cut off your 3rd meal of the day. Now you can also extrapolate this to other areas of human biology and physiology, such as movement. Movement is much more important than exercise because humans are built to move, and some of the research suggests that a 1-hour tough, sweaty, grueling workout in a gym isn't enough to offset the rest of the day spent sedentary at a desk or lying around, not exerting much physical effort. So to apply this same philosophy to movement, you would design a resistance program or a strength training program, and you would follow that for a period. Then you'd switch to a more mobility focus, or if you follow the current trends, you might want to work on your aerobic capacity and work towards increasing a marker of that called VO2 max. Generally, the best movement strategy is to focus on getting lots of low-intensity movement, sometimes called NEAT movement, throughout the day. Things such as even fidgeting, but walking, swimming, playing sports with your friends, climbing stairs, lots of low-level activity, breaking up long working periods of an hour or longer with literally anything, then taking that and combining it with a dedicated training session. One approach made famous by Pavel Tsatsouline, a Russian special forces trainer, is called greasing the groove, where you basically do very short amounts of resistance training every day, never destroying the body and always leaving one in the tank so that you're actually functional should you actually need to apply that strength, perhaps the day after you've lifted heavy. So the best way to implement this is to focus on moving frequently throughout the day. I try to break up any long work blocks by setting a timer and then forcing myself to do a quick exercise snack, as some people call it, each time my alarm goes off. That can be some air squats, push-ups, walking upstairs, walking outside, really anything, as long as it temporarily gets your heart rate up and puts your body through different ranges of motion. On the days that I do this, getting to the gym later in the day is a bonus for me because I've moved enough that I've kept my body healthy. I've put it through lots of important ranges of motion. I've improved my blood flow, increased my sharpness, and done all the things I need to promote longevity and overall quality of life without keeping the stress hormones elevated for prolonged periods of time, as is what happens when you work out in the gym for over about 45 minutes, or if you do endurance cardio work at a high intensity, the threshold is even shorter. At that point, it can take your body too long to recover from it to actually become counterproductive. That's number 2, movement. And the final one I want to cover in this video today is your environments. I'm talking where you live, I'm talking your workplace, your car, or however you get there, all the places you spend the most amount of time. Because as the field of epigenetics has made clear, what we are surrounded by and exposed to is constantly influencing our biology, our health, our performance, much more than we realize. That's everything from the air we breathe, the type of light, whether it's natural light or it's artificial, and within artificial, is it incandescent and halogen, which are more biologically compatible, or is it an LED or CFL or fluorescent light that are more taxing and disruptive to the nervous system? Of course, then there's the water we drink and we bathe in. There is the air or the ether of the home, things like non-native EMFs. Hopefully there's no mold where you're spending time, because if you're sensitive to mold, no amount of biohacking or health optimization practices are going to outdo that. It's things like air quality and pollutants, PM10, PM2.5, and there's a good amount of research showing that a small amount of air pollution can actually impact your cognitive function very quickly, not to mention your health biomarkers. The best part about this last one is, unlike the first two, which require consistency and willpower, getting your environments optimized takes a little time and know-how and some upfront financial investment. But once you do that, it influences your health and your biology in a beneficial way 24/7 without you doing anything about it. If you find these topics interesting, I've written guides to each and every one of these I've talked about so far. I will put those in the description below this video. Go ahead and check those out. And today I only covered a small fraction of my routine and the things I do to decrease my biological age, stay young and healthy, and perform my peak every single day. Comment below your questions or what you'd like to see, and that way I'll know which ones to prioritize. Until next time, be an outlier.